Here we are inside the Auto-Trail Tribute F62. If firstly we move to the main control panel, we can turn the 12 volt on just here. Beneath the 12 volt button we have top lighting. All the other lights can then be individually turned on and off on their own switches. Beneath that we then have the water pump. We need the water pump on so we can get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it's been drained. We then have awning light on and off. The next button will give us information. It's not easy to see on the camera because it doesn't pick it up particularly well, but I will explain as we go along. So to begin with, you'll see we've got Sargent EC363 control panel, so it's just letting us know what control panel this is. It's letting us know we're using a leisure battery, it's displaying the time and also giving us a temperature. If we now press the button, it will let us know that we are using the leisure battery and that it's currently charging, and it will give us condition of the vehicle battery. It's letting us know how much water is in the fresh tank and the waste tank. We can select the battery, so if we now move to this arrow one here, I can switch between vehicle and leisure. Whichever battery you've selected whilst you're hooked up to main supply is the battery you're charging. It'll give us internal temperature and humidity. We can adjust the time, and again we just use the buttons down here. And then back to the beginning again. Beside that we then have the control panel for the whale heating and hot water. You'll see you've got water heater above and heating below. If we start with the first symbol just here, this is frost protection for the boiler. So if you've got water in the boiler but you don't necessarily want to be heating it, we can put it on this, and then if the temperature outside drops below 3-4 degrees, it will just come on just to stop the boiler from frost damage. After that we then have a single wavy line. Wavy lines represent main supply, so we're using main supply now using about 1 kilowatt. Two wavy lines, mains electricity at 2 kilowatts, so just dependent on the ampage of the site that you're on. If we don't have mains, we can heat water on gas. After that we then have dual fuel, so if you want to get hot water virtually instantly and you have both power sources available to you, you can heat it up on gas and mains at 1 kilowatt or gas and mains at 2 kilowatts. Whenever you are consuming gas, a little gas flame will appear here, and if there's a problem in any shape or form, so if you run out of gas, not turn the gas bottle on, or you have no main supply connected, etc., you will get a little red exclamation mark just here where my finger is underneath the gas flame to let you know that there's a problem. If that appears, you then press the water heater button and then you'll get a series of lights appear here, and then in the basically the manual it will let you know what the problem is. If you think you've rectified the problem, to reset the control panel you need to then hold this button in here and press the plus button together, and then the exclamation mark will disappear. Obviously if it's a problem on the heater, you do it for the heater in exactly the same way. If we now move to the heating, symbols are virtually the same. Obviously we don't have frost protection because it's a heater, so we get a single wavy line. So again, mains electricity, but this time at about 500 watts. Two wavy lines, 1 kilowatt, and 3 wavy lines, 2 kilowatts. So again, just dependent on the ampage of the site that you're on. We then have gas on its own, and again, dual fuel. Control the temperature on the plus and the minus just here. Well, recommend here as a night mode if you need heating on whilst you're sleeping, and what you can also do is just have the circulation fan on without any heat on a warm day. Beneath we then have the fridge freezer on and off on this button just here. This model is an automatic model, so if you are on A for auto, it will find the best power source it can for you. So because we're currently hooked up to mains supply, it's put us onto mains. If I went outside and pulled the mains lead out, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas, and as soon as you start the engine, it will then automatically flick itself over to 12 volt maintain to keep itself cold whilst on the move. You will see that the screen disappears after a few seconds. To review, just tap the square here and it will re-illuminate. If I want to take it out of auto, all we need to do is just hold this button in and it will begin to flash. Then you use your arrow keys so we can manually put it onto mains, or manually put it onto 12 volt maintain, or manually put it onto gas. But auto is the easiest one to have it on. Once you've selected that, you can then adjust your temperature. And then we have a nice large fridge and a reasonably good size freezer compartment above. And if we turn back off again, we then have the location of the freestanding table just here. Sink here and hob to light the rings, just literally push in and twist. Beneath that we then have the grill and oven. So if we push in to the left, we'll fire up the oven, and push in to the right for the grill. In this cupboard here we have the location of the water pump, and then underneath the oven you will find the majority of the gas taps just here. They're all in the on position, and I always say they can stay like that. They're more for maintenance. If you smell gas, always go to the source and turn the gas bottle off. But we have oven, hob, as it says on there, barbecue point, and fridge. If we now go above the hob, we have the solar panel regulator slash selector. So it shows you on here what the rocker switch does. So if it's in the middle, the solar panel is turned off. If we flick it up, we're charging the vehicle battery with the solar, and if we flick it down, we're charging the leisure. It will give you battery status just in the middle here. If we now go into the washroom, we have basin just here, shower just here. Do make sure that the shower screen is clipped back for travel. We then have the Thetford toilet here. The bowl does swivel about. To open to the cassette, just slide the lever here and then push the blue button to flush. Level indicator for the cassette just here. It will rotate round to red when it needs emptying, and then close the cassette again just here. If this has not been closed and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. Above my head just here we have the Omnivent fan. To use this, wind the roof vent up just here. Middle button turns the unit on, and then we have arrows out for extraction and arrows in for cooling. Variable fan speed just by pressing. Do make sure that the unit has been turned off, and then this is down for travel. We then have the wardrobe just here. We have the silver screens just here for the front windscreen. Tucked right at the very back here we have the digital amplifier for the television aerial. On and off just here. Control the boost just here. And then beneath it we have the fire extinguisher. If we now remove the cushions from this bench seat here, you'll see I've already undone the poppers, so we can now slide this forward. You'll see here that we have the isolator switch for the boiler on main supply, so if this is turned off you will get a red exclamation mark, so just make sure that this is on for mains control. You'll see we have another set of gas taps just here for the heating and hot water, and then we also have the location of the boiler itself. So on this model it's underslung underneath the van, but the drain valve is just here. So to drain the boiler down for winterization, just make sure the water pump is turned off and then just flick this to the side like so. It will then drain all the water out the boiler. To refill it, put it back in the position it is now, make sure the fresh water tank has been filled, and then turn the water pump on. Also underneath here we have the consumer unit. So we have the individual MCBs just here, and they're labelled up to let you know what they isolate. We then have the RCD and test button just here. And then this side we have the 12 volt fuses just here, and again they are labelled up. Vehicle battery just sits here, and then we have some more 12 volt fuses here, and they are labelled up again, and they're for like the fridge, the 12 volt feed from the alternator to the fridge, etc. There is also some relays as well, but they are all labelled. If we now pop the cushions back on this side and then remove them on the opposite side, you will then see the location of the leisure battery just here. Also tucked down here we have the jack and wheel brace kit, and then the tow and eye is located underneath the passenger seat. When making the bed, slide out like we've done at the moment, exactly the same with the other side, and then these parts here just infill, and then it's just a matter of then just sliding your cushions across.